What if I tell you a jailhouse story? You stay in?
All right.
Hello, welcome to Cynic Critique, where we get real with cult films. I'm your host Thomas, and I'm here with my brother and co-host, my bro-host, Brian. Hello! This week we are going to discuss films that are essentially doing as we usually do, shutting themselves in a room as we delve into 2005's London and 2011's Sunset Limited.
Okay, 2006 is London, I've got it as, because I believe that's when it released in the UK.
Right.
On a budget of £14,000. Yeah, I got the budget for this in Great British pounds sterling. Did you?
Yeah, it is pounds.
And worldwide gross of $20,361. Written and directed by Hunter Richards, starring Chris Evans as Sid, Jason Statham as Bateman, Jessica Biel as the titular London, Isla Fisher as Rebecca, Joy Bryan as Mallory.
I want to know if we can go somewhere and talk for a second, please.
Fortunately, time's not on your side. What are you gonna do? Wait outside like a stalker?
This is my going away party. I think it would be pretty uncool if I left just because you wanted to talk.
And the synopsis, as IMDb has it, is at a drug-laden party in a New York loft, a young man tries to win back his ex-girlfriend. I don't think that's a fair synopsis of the film, to be honest.
No.
Because the party isn't actually drug-laden. Statham, character Bateman, and Chris Evans' Sid have gone to a leaving party, uninvited, and do lines of coke in a bathroom.
Yeah, as far as I know, they were the only drugs at that party.
Obviously, we were reminded of this film because it shares the same cast as last week's Cellular.
Yeah, my
with
favourite
Jason
film.
Statham, Chris Evans, and Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
And like that film, I believe this is one of your all-timers as well.
I'm not even sure about that. I don't know where you're getting my all-time favourites, bro.
I have a list.
It's just speculated all-time favourites.
Yeah, that's the list. It was sent to me via the dark web.
Wow. I think this is more of one of my all-time favourites over Cellular, but yeah.
I'll let you start the conversation off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It's great to see Statham with hair.
Yes, it is. At parts, it's a little jaunting to see, and then others, it's like, that's actually quite natural. And
Yeah.
if you look at pictures of Statham from the time, if it is a wig anyway, it's keeping his hairline, I feel.
Yeah. It's a good wig if it is a wig.
I didn't expect to start this film with wig talk.
That's all you went on about because you were on about Chris Evans' wig, and I don't even know if that was a wig either.
I think in the flashbacks it may have been.
In the flashbacks, he had short hair.
Sorry, I think in the present it may have been because in the flashbacks he had short hair.
Yeah. This film, I think they go where you don't really think they're going to go with these conversations.
Yeah.
The description for the film says he's just gone there trying to get his ex-girlfriend back, but there's a lot more to it than that, really. Like the conversations they have.
Yeah, he's gone there for that, but then spends nearly the whole party in this bathroom with his drug dealer, Bateman.
Yeah, just having great conversation about life and other things, really, isn't it?
Yeah, about their own outlooks in life and why they kind of are the way they are in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of more of a breakup film than the synopsis would have it sound.
Yeah.
I would say it's possibly more of a guy's breakup film with it being from their angle.
Yeah. If you go in there expecting what IMDb says the genres are for steamy romance and just romance, you're not getting that, I don't think. Unless you really love the bromance between Statham and Evans, which was just the highlight of the film.
Yeah.
They've got great chemistry together, those two. I want them to reunite in another movie. We're about due for it, Brian. This was 2005, so I think they're due for a reunion. Two films from mid-2000s and then nothing.
Yeah, it's strange because from what I can tell, I don't know why three cast members from Cellular even reunite for this.
No.
I think we said in the last episode that Jessica Biel and Chris Evans were dating at this time,
Yeah.
but it doesn't explain Jason Statham's return.
No.
I'm guessing there's a casting director or a producer that I never even thought to look up until now, actually.
Yeah, probably. Or maybe Evans just loves Statham.
Yeah.
Which I would believe from watching this film.
Yeah, the conversations they have are pretty great, I think. Some people I've seen say that they're shallow. the conversations, even though it's like a philosophical conversation and debate between the two.
Yeah.
But I think it's closer to what you'd get from people in real life
Yeah.
with what they're saying. So yes, it may seem shallow, but I think it adds a more realistic approach.
Yeah.
I particularly quite like the editing in this. I think it's mostly Statham's character, really, when he talks about certain things, and then you get a flashback to it. How it just seems to just cut into the flashbacks is like kind of aggressive and forceful.
Yeah.
And that almost feels like his interjection into the argument or the conversation being a little harder than what Chris Evans approaches it with.
As opposed to Chris Evans flashbacks and things where it, I guess, softer transition.
Yeah.
Rather seamless at times for his, I think.
Yeah.
In comparison.
And what's strange about this film as well is obviously Chris Evans is broken up with this girl, London, and would like to get back to her. That's why he's gone to this party. I mean, I think there's even a line somewhere where he's kind of been following her. It mentions at some point, like almost stalkerish, because he just hasn't got the courage to go up and say something to her, which is probably why he's happy to stay in this bathroom for the duration of the movie.
Yeah.
But when we get his flashbacks with London, you would expect to see something more cliche of a romance, but a lot of his memories are in arguments with her.
Yeah.
Which does seem to stem from paranoia of this other man that she's on the phone to. I think that's the first flashback. But it's like he's more still upset maybe with how he handled them moments, which is why they're the flashbacks. Like, he's aware that there is pitfalls and he wants to change, yet he's in loggerheads with his drug dealer Bateman in similar arguments, I guess, because it's always about I think London actually describes it to him later when they do, or in a flashback now, I'm not sure. She actually says that it's always these pseudo-intellectual arguments with you or something.
Yeah, that was in one of the flashback conversations.
And people seem to, like, clamour on that statement to evaluate the film, which I think is really unfair because that's clearly his character.
Yeah.
I think there's even a line in one of the flashbacks where he said something about he gets into these intellectual arguments as a way to bully people in a way by tearing everything down to give himself a superiority, essentially. So his character is clearly uncomfortable with his situation in life because, similar to his character in Cellular, he seems to be a kind of slacking off and refusing to grow up.
And similar to that character, he needs Statham.
Statham's character is great in this. It really is. Anybody expecting the usual Statham role, I don't think you're going to get it here.
Oh, no.
I mean, he does get into a bit of a scrap, spoilers, but it's not your regular stylized choreography type fight from it.
No, but he clearly has form.
I mean, he was an Olympic diver. So he's got form for sure.
Don't remember the diving scene in this though.
No, I don't. I do find it weird that the environment in this, because it's not a place either of them particularly know. It's a stranger's apartment, essentially. Well, it's not quite a stranger for Sid, I don't think, because it's one of London's friends.
Yeah, Rebecca Isla Fisher's character.
Yeah. It's not even her apartment, is it actually? It's her parents' apartment?
Yeah, which says a lot about the characters in this film.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them had a lot of growing to do.
Yeah, most of the characters seem to have had an easy life compared to the idea we have from how Chris Evans is anyway.
Yeah.
Not that it really goes into that in the flashbacks.
No.
There is a good flashback, I think that's for Chris Evans, where he sees a therapist played by Louis C.K.
Yeah.
I mean, Louis C.K. is a bit problematic now anyway.
Yeah.
But seeing him as a therapist, it's not a particular role I don't think you would ever think of casting a comedian in.
No.
Yeah, the way he portrays it for that short amount of time on screen is just brilliant, I thought.
Yeah.
And speaking of comedians in this film, we've got one of your all-time favourite comedians, Dane Cook.
Again, I don't know where you're getting all-time favourite.
List off the dirt.
I wish you'd stop looking at that because I don't think it's true.
Well, it's written as if you said it yourself, I'll be honest.
Yeah, Dane Cook didn't have his original material.
Some of his material in
which there is obscene and it just seems to cut through bits of his dialogue and it's just did they not...
That the bit where he's talking to London, he's like, I created this move, and he does some crazy dance move with hiding his face behind the hand and popping out of it.
Yeah, he just does all these bits
and he goes on about the helicopter coming to pick him up.
Yeah. But for me, I would just could they not decide on one line from Dane Cook for this scene? And so they just went with all of them. Because of how it cuts, it's another take. And that's probably what it is he's just doing some improv. And they're like, oh, this is great. I just need to leave it in, especially when he's not in much of the film. No, that made me laugh a bit.
Apparently Kat Dennings is in this as Lily.
Yeah.
I don't remember spotting her.
I think she was the young woman Statham's talking to at the bar when he leaves the bathroom eventually.
Right, okay.
And she says she's 18 or something. And Statham just hangs around in the party at some point and just goes around talking to people.
Yeah.
This is a great performance from Statham.
It's one of my favourites from him.
This is one of the reasons why I actually like him as an actor.
I would honestly love to see more of him do stuff like this.
I like seeing him do his usual action movies like Transporter, but this is the film where I watched it and went, I want more of this from Statham.
This would have been a good point from, you know how he is in Guy Ritchie films, the early ones like Lock, Stock and Snatch?
Yeah.
That's not his action movie role either.
No.
But it's not the same sort of performances he's giving here.
No.
And this would have been a good stepping point to have moved into more dramatic roles if he'd wished to.
Yeah.
And I think he's nearly 60 now.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he's maybe wishing he did pursue that career, because he'll took a lot of bumps in his action career.
Yeah.
Although he is doing a film next year I'm looking forward to.
Which is?
Levon's Trade. It's based on a novel by Chuck Dixon, he's one of yours as well, I think, all-timers favourite comic writer.
Yeah, this you're right with. Chuck Dixon, one of my
I wasn't sure, but
right.
he's not on the list on the web.
Yeah, that list on the dark web seems like second tier stuff.
Right, I'll get back to it.
Cinematographer on this. Did you look him up at all?
I never looked that up or music, sadly.
Oh wow.
I was too, because there weren't much trivia, I was trying to find
more interesting stuff.
Yeah, and reviews to see what other people really thought about the film as well.
Well, Joe Willems, the cinematographer on this, they worked on a film same year as this, which I know is one of your favourites, Hard Candy.
Oh, that is a great... I want to cover that on the pod at some point, but I don't know what we would pair it with.
They were also the cinematographer on Red Sparrow.
Yes.
And 30 Days of Night. So I think they're all like different looking films, especially to this as well.
Yeah, because Hard Candy's got more of like a realistic approach. 30 Days a Night is very stylistic to match a comic book, I guess, even though...
Well, I guess actually the first two I mentioned were quite real and grounded like this. So in a way...
They've got their own unique world to them.
Yeah. But yeah, 30 Days a Night, that was completely different. Oh, he does Limitless as well, which is different again, I think.
Yeah. Limitless is probably most similar to this in its aesthetics, I would say.
Yeah.
Out of the ones you named.
Yeah. And probably with a similar lead character.
Drug addict?
Yeah.
Cool guy, nobody really knew who they were till they did a big blockbuster.
Yeah.
That was Louis C.K., if you didn't know.
So you're talking about Jason Statham.
No, Louis C.K.
You didn't even look who did music on this. It was the Crystal Method, which are an electronic band from like the 90s.
I knew you'd look up the music. That's another reason I didn't.
But they worked on one of your favourite TV shows, Almost Human.
The Carl Urban...
Yeah,
that is a great show. Well worth checking out. I'd love to cover it at some point on our Cancelled Too Soon bonus episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we said, but Dane Cook's character's called George.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
And when I read the cast, I read Joy Bryant as Mallory. She was the barmaid at the beginning of the film who comes to the party to meet Statham.
Well, she's like the reason Statham ends up
wanting to go to the party anyway.
Yeah.
Because Chris Evans is like, come to the party, I'll hook you up with her. I know her quite well. Just stay for one drink. And that seems to be enough. And then he's already had one drink at one point in the film and he's like, I'm going to leave now. And he's like, no, don't leave. Mallory's not here yet. Stay for one drink. And he's like, yeah.
He's quite easily led by Chris Evans. The true romance of this movie for me.
One of the most important lines from this film, I feel, comes in the last act. And it's when Chris Evans and Statham are going their separate ways at the end of the night kind of thing. And Chris Evans says, people say you'll always have your most important conversations with strangers.
Yeah.
And that line, I think, is pretty much the theme of this episode.
Yeah.
Because that's the big thing that connects this to our next film, Sunset Limited.
Yeah.
And I just find that quite a poignant line as well.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I don't think people really think about, especially them that like to go out a lot and socialize on an evening in bars and stuff. They probably do have a lot of rather strangely important conversations while intoxicated with people they may never see again.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't realize just how important a conversation is until days or weeks after it's happened as well, which is quite fascinating.
Yeah. Are we ready to move on to the next one?
I am, if you are. I didn't know if you had any more to say about this.
I don't feel I can say much about it without like spoiling.
Yeah, because I don't want to spoil the end of the film. And because the film is a lot of the same location and conversation, and I think it would spoil the film to even particularly say a lot about what's said in the conversation or the flashbacks.
Yeah.
One thing I will add, though, because I'm curious, why does that big bathroom lead to a balcony?
You'll have to find Rebecca's parents.
They're about 10 stories up or so, maybe 14 if I'm right, because I think that's the number they ask for in the elevator.
Yeah.
And they're in this bathroom for the whole time, and then they just walk out onto a balcony. A balcony from the bathroom. That's not something I would particularly like.
No.
Not the place I would like my balcony to be. And that bathroom as well is massive. This
Yeah.
person is clearly well off.
Yeah. Is it Statham that stood on the balcony and he just says something like, "Come look at this view"? But they'd already been stood out.
Statham does a really good part that help him cut their cocaine to snort. He goes and lifts the painting off a hallway wall.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's true about what he says about the painting or not, and I don't want to spoil it for them that haven't watched it, but I thought, does he know this, or is he just making this up to seem impressive? And I'd like to look that up, actually. Now I've remembered about that.
Well, that's one of the best things about his character in this film, I think.
Is he an accountant or something?
Yeah.
And then obviously apparently does drugs on the side.
Yeah. He says he shouldn't really take it or something.
Yeah. Both him and Chris Evans are a low point in their lives, and I particularly enjoy them discussing how they got there in a way, or
Yeah.
why they're there. But neither of them think, I know how I can help you, kind of thing. They just argue over the other one's philosophy of life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think they do it with respect, because at times they can get almost aggressive with each other in their argument, in their debate.
Yeah.
And to do that and not actually get into fisticuffs, I think they clearly respect each other's opinions.
Yeah. Well,
But
they do say, like, just let me say what I need to say.
Yeah, but I think it does very well at maintaining the premise of the conversation in the bathroom for a majority of that film, because the film is 80-something minutes, is it?
This is an hour 32. So it's 92 minutes.
Oh, okay.
92 minutes of two men talking in the bathroom, and it's probably the best 92 minutes you can spend.
I don't know about that.
Are you ready to move on? Or are you...
Yes, I've got no more to say on London other than if you like pseudo-intellectual debate in your films and TV shows, then this is worth a watch. I did pseudo-intellectual in air quotes. I realised no one can see me.
I was just about to say, don't worry, I saw that, but yeah, audio podcast. Anyway, I'll move us on to 2011's The Sunset Limited.
Where were you standing? I never saw you.
I was on the platform.
On the platform.
Standing on the platform, minding my own business. Here you come, hauling ass.
It's directed by Tommy Lee Jones and written and based on the stage play by Cormac McCarthy, starring a huge cast of Samuel L. Jackson and Tommy Lee Jones. I should say Samuel L. Jackson is black and Tommy Lee Jones is white.
I think people knew that.
And the synopsis reads, through a chance encounter, two men of opposing ideologies deliberate spiritual, philosophical, and profound matters in a New York City apartment. Well, that's good. Both of these set in New York.
Yeah, I think they were.
Same film.
Not quite.
No, this one has a lot deeper conversations, I think.
Yes. I think it's because this just isn't about philosophy of life. There's theological debate here as well, with Christianity being a big part of that.
Yeah.
What's great about this, though, is it's learned early on in the film that Tommy Lee Jones's character, well, he doesn't have a name, but he's credited as white, attempted a suicide by getting hit by a subway train, the Sunset Limited. And Samuel L. Jackson has escorted him to his apartment and took care of his wounds or whatever. But it's weird because they say that happened in the morning, but it's clearly nighttime and raining out the window. But the debate between these two people in this grimy apartment for 80-something minutes is just phenomenal.
Again, this is 91 minutes.
Okay, it's 91 then. I thought it was 81.
No.
Did you say this came out in 2011?
Yeah.
It was a TV movie, apparently, for HBO.
Yeah.
Shocking. I couldn't find a budget in gross for this one.
No, it doesn't seem to have one. I think it's TV.
Yeah, but the debate between these two and their performances is phenomenal, because people expect when it's Samuel L. Jackson to be this high-octane attitude sort of guy.
Yeah.
That's his, like, stereotype role, you know.
Yeah.
And here is a lot more softer and muted than that.
Yeah.
It's a lot more deliberate and grounded, I guess. And same for Tommy Lee Jones, because he's done some roles that can be particularly large.
You think of Two-Face in Batman Forever?
Probably, yeah. And he plays it quite understated here.
Yeah.
But just these two old dudes just talking philosophy on life is pretty amazing, because we learn Black is an ex-con. He's been in the, the jailhouse. And then we learn that that's through some violent events in the past.
Yeah.
I think he actually confessed to killing someone.
Yeah.
And yet he's the devout Christian and doesn't really question the Bible at all. And then we have Tommy Lee Jones, who seems to be quite a well-off character, done well in life, rather intelligent, and now an esteemed professor at some university.
Yeah.
And he seems to have nothing to live for yet. Samuel L. Jackson is this very working class, lower class, I would say even, with this grimy apartment, barely any products, because he says the smackheads in the building would rob anything.
I was going to say, you don't have a phone.
Yeah.
Because Tommy Lee Jones says, why don't you get a cheap phone?
Yeah.
And he's like, they'll take that as well.
I think I had this feeling when I first watched it, which was about 3 years ago, and I got this feeling again about halfway through. I don't know if I shared it with you then, but I'm going to ask you now. Is it possible, do you think, that Tommy Lee Jones's character is dead already?
It could be going on how it ends.
I have
But without going into more of that.
Yeah, I know. Because Tommy Lee Jones says, "Where were you stood? I didn't see anybody."
Yeah.
Before he jumped, he's like, "I was there. I saw you." But Tommy Lee Jones didn't see him, and yet Tommy Lee Jones seems to be quite a smart man that wouldn't question anything if he didn't need to.
Yeah.
And there's this odd scene where I can't think what it is. White has said, and then Black says, "Oh," and then like picks up the paper as if he's like reading a quote of something Tommy Lee Jones said.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, very clever," kind of thing. But that could be seen as being sarcastic between the two.
Yeah.
But I think it could also be read in the sense that Samuel L. Jackson's actually quoting him
Yeah.
in a way where he actually said that, and that's accurate. Because I'm wondering if he has to convince him to believe in God, essentially to enter heaven,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Especially when Tommy Lee Jones does go to the door at one point to leave. He's like, "Why don't you let me out there?" He's like, "You know what's out there, kind of thing."
Yeah.
And they only ever refer to the train that hit him as the Sunset Limited.
Yeah.
Which gives the idea as walking off into the sunset, I guess, approaching the light at the end of the tunnel, reaching the pearly gates of heaven. I wondered if you saw it that way as well, as one reading. I think it's purposely written to be intended this way,
Yeah.
but I just wondered if you thought that at all while watching it.
Not really. The Sunset Limited is a real train, so.
I know, but it's the perfect name to use, right?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Because he could have picked other train lines.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think I'm more into the whole, just them talking the philosophies of life. Just more into that than reading any more into it.
I mean, I was into that for sure, but I think it's hard to just ignore this fact that there's a deeper level there that he's possibly died. I wondered if you saw it the same, but
No, I didn't really have a need to look that deep into the film, if you know what I mean, due to the conversations they were having about all that sort of thing anyway. To me, that was the core of the film, their opposites of views.
yeah,
So I didn't really think to look at any odd meaning like that.
I just thought maybe that was also a way of like situating the film and having it be in one place was to add this subtext in there to add to the theme as well, you see.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I can see why you can see it like that, but at the same time, it's also based on a stage play, so
Yeah, I know,
one
but it doesn't-
motivation
Yeah, but it
kind
doesn't
of
mean
fits that.
Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't take away that subtext.
No, I'm just saying that I don't really feel the need that there is more to it than what's there.
Well, I disagree on that. I think it's purposely written that way to be a bit ambiguous.
Well, it might be, but I'm just saying that I don't have, for me, I just don't need that there.
One concern I do have about this film is how I feel so aligned with Tommy Lee Jones. How empty he is a vessel kind of thing. It's like, oh no, poor guy, he's got nothing. Because he too, like me, is a big fan of media. He goes on about reading 2 books a week and has done for I forgot how many years. And Samuel Jackson does some fast maths to calculate how many books he's apparently read.
Yeah.
Because there's a great scene where Tommy Lee Jones is like, "Oh, okay, you're going to do the maths then?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "I forgot what the number is." And it comes out with some 1,000
Yeah.
and something. And Tommy Lee Jones repeats that number again. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm correct." He's like, "No, I'm not questioning it. This is another question. I want you to times that now by 40 or whatever the number was."
Yeah.
And he multiplies that. Then Tommy Lee Jones gets a pad out and starts calculating. He's like, "Oh," he's like, "Yeah, you've got to be fast with numbers." I just found it quite an interesting debate between these two, more so than London. I think London's a little more realistic in the way people talk, but
Yeah.
the Sunset Limited is so deep and the performances keep you really ingrained that they can get away with being a little less realistic in the way people talk. Well, I say less realistic. They seem quite realistic, to be honest, with how they talk. Their characters have the wisdom, I guess.
Yeah.
Although there is a part where I forgot the word it is, Tommy Lee Jones says and Samuel Jackson questions it, because Samuel Jackson's used some like great words there and seems to understand their meaning. And then I think, is it facetious? Tommy Lee Jones says, he's like, "Oh, now you're just being facetious." And Samuel Jackson is like, "Facetious?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What's that mean?" And he didn't know the word facetious. And then Tommy Lee Jones had to give him the definition. And I was like, oh, I thought with everything else he said, facetious would be a word he would know. And what I thought was quite odd about not knowing the word facetious was facetious itself normally is a cynical word, and it shows that Samuel Jackson is maybe too optimistic to think of anybody ever being facetious, that it's not a word that would need to be in his lexicon.
Yeah.
I quite like that aspect. You mentioned this was written by Cormac McCarthy, based on one of his own stage plays.
Yeah.
Those that won't know, Cormac McCarthy is the guy he wrote the novels for No Country for Old Men, and I forgot the one I had first now.
The Road?
Yes, The Road.
Yeah.
And it's directed by Tommy Lee Jones as well. But this is the third film Tommy Lee Jones has directed.
Yeah.
And it's directed amazingly. there's a brilliant shot where Samuel L. Jackson's just poured each of them coffee.
Yeah.
And then it almost seems like for no reason at all, because it's the only time it's really done this, it cuts and you're looking in the coffee cup from Tommy Lee Jones's angle.
Yeah.
And it's like he's staring into the black abyss, that there's just nothing there. It's void and empty, even though at the same time it's full. And I thought that was a really good shot that kind of summarizes the film in just one shot.
Yeah. So I got distracted by coffee.
I'm drinking tea.
I know, but I was just thinking.
Or did you mean that Pam Grier movie?
No, I don't. I've never seen it. No, I'm just thinking of coffee. Summing up the movie, and I'm thinking, yeah, a good cup of coffee warms the soul.
I think you've mistaken it for tea.
You're about shots. So I was a cinematographer on this is Paul Elliott. I think the only film that I'd seen or that I could remember and noted down was Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood.
Oh, great. That guy's gone a long way, actually, since that, if I'm right, because I can't think what it is now that I'd looked up before, and it was him.
I don't know why that's the only film I noted. And probably because it was just so strange and like
It's compared to this one.
Yeah. I thought, how could he do a movie like that and then be doing this?
Got to start somewhere. Did you see that Tommy Lee Jones is friends with Cormac McCarthy?
Yeah, McCarthy turned up on the set.
Because Tommy Lee Jones wanted to make sure he was doing it right, apparently.
McCarthy wanted to just give advice on it, really. I don't know what sort of advice.
No.
Performance-wise, probably, I bet. I'd be interested in seeing how the stage plays.
It's a stage play I would love to see, but it would also depend on the actors. But
Yeah.
most stage plays get good actors, and if it's written by McCarthy, you're going to have good actors on the stage for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at my notes now, and I've just found one that I think argues my point as well about Tommy Lee Jones being dead.
Yeah.
Jackson's character Black says everyone he knows are dead. They're on the other side now.
Yeah.
As in, like, he's almost like this Grim Reaper figure that helps people pass on to that other side.
Yeah.
And that was another line that cemented my thing of him being dead.
Or it's just the fact he's an old guy.
Oh, yeah, but that's what I mean. It seems purposely written to be ambiguous in this way.
Yeah.
And for those that maybe wouldn't think of that while watching it, I thought to bring it up would allow them to have another approach while watching it and maybe get some more enjoyment from the film. Or you just watch these two old guys talk to each other for an hour and a half.
Yeah. I never really noted who did wardrobe and stuff like that, but the clothing they have, and you mentioned even the coffee cups, if I'm right. Does White have the black coffee cup?
Yes, because it highlights how black the coffee is when it pans over.
Yeah.
And Black has the black coffee cup.
Black has the white coffee cup.
Oh, maybe it weren't his coffee. It was White's coffee cup it looks at. And the coffee was clearly black.
Sorry, now you've just confused me on...
Black had the black coffee cup, didn't he? Because it was like a black one with like a yellow rim.
He might have, yeah. I can't remember now that they had...
But you're on about their costuming, anyway.
Yeah. Tommy Lee Jones had like dark top and...
Yeah.
They pretty much just paralleled each other all the time. Opposites. Polar opposites.
It's something I quite liked about it, in their costuming anyway. They didn't seem like they were dressed for where they were at that stage in their life. I mean, I know it said Samuel L. Jackson was on his way to work.
Yeah.
Because that's when we learn he ain't got a phone. Tommy Lee Jones is like, oh, you should maybe call them. He's like, oh, I ain't got a phone. He's like, how are they going to know you're not turning up? He's like, oh, they'll just be fine when I don't turn up. They'll be like, he's not coming.
Yeah.
Which also just added to the point that he's doing his job anyway, because, that's his job. Especially when he's like, I was on my way to work when I got you, kind of thing. It's like, okay. But his attire, Jackson's attire, did you not find it reminiscent of some of the prison wardrobes you'd see in films? Then pale blues, almost like a jumpsuit.
I suppose so, but it's also like your traditional janitor.
I know, but I thought it was a nice contrast. Like, it seemed to pair up quite well, as Tommy Lee Jones was wearing it looked like khakis or combat trousers, which I thought gave the impression of maybe he's an old war vet as well. Maybe I'm just looking a bit too into it, but...
No, I thought he just had regular trousers.
No, they have like pockets on them, were quite loose. It gave me the idea that maybe he's an old war vet, but this is Tommy Lee Jones. He's played these sort of roles before, so I'm maybe looking into it with who they've cast to play him.
Yeah.
But I just thought how they're dressed is maybe saying something also about their backstory, because it's very easy to see Tommy Lee Jones as a nihilist.
Yeah.
He sees nothing good in the world.
Hang on, you're on about Tommy Lee Jones now, while the character is playing.
The character is playing. It's just the fact it just seems so bland to just refer to him as black and white.
But that's what they were in.
Yeah, and when you look at the script, it'd be black and white. But I really like how as the debate goes on, they kind of become a little more of themselves. Like they start quite reserved.
Yeah.
And then as it goes on, they seem to open up a little to each other, but they're clearly getting so frustrated at the other one's view take on the world, and I just find it so... Well, I don't actually think Tommy Lee Jones is getting frustrated at Samuel Jackson's view on the world. It's the fact that he feels Samuel Jackson's character is almost trying to convince him of this other take of the world. And he's like, no, you can't convince me. I've seen it and I know where it's going.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the phrase he used to describe the world, but he kind of described it as everyone's like just having to do their job and no one is living kind of thing. Like it's like he's struggling to get joy in anything. Yet he's read all these books and it's revealed as well that he hadn't read the Bible.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah, that leads into the bit where he's calculating the numbers as well.
When Samuel Jackson's just like, what do you consider the best book?
Yeah.
And he says whatever it is, I can't think now.
One's a book, and he's like, but I don't know if you'd call that a real book. And he's like, why? What would you call a real book? He's like, it has to tell you things that actually happened.
Yeah.
Unlike the Bible, because that's just a story as well. And then he like names some history book.
I love it when Samuel Jackson's just like, you haven't read this book. Yeah, the greatest book.
He's like, no, it doesn't interest me. Yet later, I think he quotes something from Genesis. I think it's Genesis. He quotes a chapter of the Bible at some point to Samuel Jackson. And he's like, so you've read it? And he's like, well, everyone's read that. And it was something like that. Anyway, I think what's being said here is a very good film in depicting people's viewpoints between the atheists and the religious sects.
Yeah.
But I think this film has a poor approach in angling that it's keeping a divide there.
Yeah.
When I do believe that atheists can be friends with somebody that shares a different religious outlook, because it's not so much about the religion that's the divide. You can be connected via other means through shared interests outside of religion and so on. And this film is clearly just set up to be about religion, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
And that's another reason I think maybe it is about potentially Tommy Lee Jones being dead. But I think McCarthy does a great job at arguing both sides to this argument.
Yeah.
Because it would be easy to say there was two writers on this with how good the other argument is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's clearly well observed and written, and it's certainly not something you could write on your first screenplay, for sure. Well, it's not, but you know what I mean. I just don't think you could make something like this from your first time screenplay.
No.
You could try.
But you probably end up with something more like London.
I think London is really good if that's his first screenplay. Was it his first screenplay? I forgot to look. He hasn't really done any feature films. He's done documentaries.
Yeah, it was like his first film and only feature-length film.
Yeah. But Sunset Limited is a film I hold very close since watching it like 3 years ago for the first time.
Yeah.
But both these films, I think, do a solid job at not just writing an argument, but keeping it engaging for the audience.
Yeah.
Because it'd be very easy to just watch an argument like, Jesus Christ.
This for me is one of the things that kind of proves that you really don't need them big blockbuster, just throw money at everything, give us big special effects just to keep us engaged. You can just have two guys in a room and have a great talk about life, I guess.
I feel a bittersweet with this film. Sweet because I never missed it in the cinemas, and bitter because it never went to the cinemas, or I don't believe it did if it was a TV movie.
Yeah. I couldn't find out about any cinema release, but I think it was straight to TV.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen this on the big screen.
I don't know if I've said it on this podcast before, but I would much rather see every film on the big screen in the cinema than at home.
Yeah.
And that's coming from somebody who likes to stay at home.
Yeah.
I guess the irony is, because I've already just said that I'm an atheist pretty much early on in the talk about Sunset Limited, but the cinema is church for me. I get so much sanctuary from just going to the cinema and watching a film. I mean, there's the overlap there. There's the communion of other people attending. There's the story being delivered. I guess the film is the Bible chapter for that time of attendance, right? And the baptism is the Coke you buy on the way in.
Wow. That's what I should put in the description for this episode.
Coke is in Coca-Cola, or
after watching London, I thought, not that. Yeah, I thought we were doing the lines.
No. The only lines I like are written on a page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strange.
Oh, and the ones on the road, obviously, to stop people veering into other cars.
Yeah. I will say it, but Marco Beltrami did the music on this.
I was waiting for that, which is odd because there's not really much music in it.
No, there isn't. I would say he had an easy job, but where it does play, it really fits the film. It's really good. Nice bit of music.
Not relevant to music, but kind of sound design on Sunset Limited was incredible.
Yeah.
Did you not get a sense, because obviously there's a part where in the film sunrise is starting.
Yeah.
And you start to hear some activity outside and dogs barking. And it's around that time as well where we look at that coffee cup from the top.
Right.
And it adds to the idea of it being a void with how the dog's barking is almost echoed.
Right.
As if it is a void. It's normally the sound effect you would have when they're doing something in that sort of worldview. this echo chamber or something.
Yeah.
And it just adds to the effect of this coffee being like a void as he looks deep into it. And that's what added to the imagery, I think. Just great sound design, because you don't realise just how quiet it is for the most part. They're having this discussion. Every so often you hear some smackheads outside trying to knock a door down or something, I think it is. But
Sirens.
yeah, but the film itself in the background is quite quiet until sunrise starts and this activity plays up. I quite like it. It was a great sound design. And the music that does play, very, very little, is great.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm also a big fan of the poster of Sunset Limited.
Yeah.
It's just that basic black and white shot.
Yeah.
And I think it's just great. I can't say any more than that. But what's great about their names, I guess, is being credited white and black, because I don't think they ever call each other that. I don't think they refer to each other by name.
No, they don't.
Is the tagline of the movie. Do you see what the tagline of the movie is?
Probably something simple like life ain't black and white.
So close. It's nothing is ever black or white.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes the whole film quite void because they are black and white.
Yeah.
And they're arguing just one side to this argument. And I guess what it's saying is there's more to either side.
Yeah.
Which is certainly true. But I don't think the film manages to encase that at all, other than the fact that the only reason they're not getting on is because they're not particularly changing topic.
Yeah.
Well, I say that. Samuel Jackson really does try.
Yeah.
But Tommy Lee Jones would prefer to just question his religion, I guess. Or it seems more that way. Somehow they bring it back to religion anyway. And they're not really moving past it. But Tommy Lee Jones is just this guy that's just so down on everything. And because Samuel Jackson says, how do you feel about your colleagues? Surely you have something wrong with them, being a professor and everything. He's like, I loathe them. Wow, okay.
Got that one non-friend who he has dinner.
Yeah. It's like, oh, so he's your best friend. He's like, I wouldn't say that. I just love how Tommy Lee Jones delivers his lines in this film.
Yeah,
Right. It's like so flat and really dry with it. That there's kind of a humor there in some way that I don't think is supposed to be there, but you can certainly laugh at his approach with things as you can with Samuel Jackson, I think.
Yeah.
So there is some dry wit there. Probably not the film to watch if you are feeling quite down on life anyway. I don't think it's one of them that's going to pick you up. But we just watched The Heretic last week, now I think it is from recording.
Yeah.
And there's something about this film and the way Hugh Grant in Heretic talks about religion that just pairs so nicely together.
Yeah. I connected that as well.
Like if we didn't have London to have paired with and Heretic had been out a bit longer, because I don't really want to do new releases as a full episode, I think they could have paired quite well.
Yeah.
The Sunset Limited and Heretic, that is not London and Heretic.
No, London and Heretic, same film.
Okay. Although we did have a good little laugh about Heretic the other day, didn't we? Because we were on about how you could sum a movie plot up badly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like Hugh Grant encounters two women and has to make a choice.
Yeah.
Which if you didn't know anything about Heretic, you'd be like, oh, what a lovely rom-com that could be.
Yeah.
Are we wrapping up?
Yeah.
So that's the end of the show. Thank you for joining us this week. And if you haven't already, please click like and subscribe. A glowing review would also be appreciated. We are cynic_critique on X and Instagram. Links to those and more can be found in the show's description. Remember to join us again next week as we will be preparing for Christmas with a couple of our bizarre holiday-themed movies. Goodbye.
Goodbye.